You're watching the Wellness Hour, news that makes you healthier. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, replacing missing teeth with dental implants. With us, we've had him on the program before, Dr. Robert Wolf. Dr. Wolf, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Randy. I'm happy to be here.
All right, now, you brought a lot of photos.
I did.
So we'll get to as many as we can. And also, look, we've been doing this for 20 years. You're one of the most experienced guys I've ever interviewed on the implant process.
Yeah, I've done it for a while, that's for sure. It's a long time.
So for people that don't know your practice, like who's the typical person that comes in for dental implants?
Well, Randy, it really falls into two categories. Those people that have dentures and those people that are headed for dentures. So really, that's really the common patient we see. And for the denture wearer, it's hard to get them in because they're kind of out of the system. They had their teeth out, they're wearing dentures. About the only time I see them is if they need an adjustment or reline.
Now you have a new system.
I do.
Where in literally a couple of appointments, if everything goes right, they could have their brand new set of teeth on the second appointment.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Does that ever happen?
It happens all the time. It's a digitally guided technique, so we're able to use a lot of digital guides and literally be very precise in our placement of not only the implants, but of the actual teeth. So we actually start with the end in mind and work backwards to the implants, so we get the best, most optimum result we can achieve. So
no more dentures. Do you believe that?
If I had my way, no one would wear dentures.
Is that because you don't like dentures? The patients don't like dentures, I guess.
No one's ever happy, Randy. No one's ever happy about dentures. Patients don't like them. Dentists, don't like them. Staff doesn't like them. The lab is tired of hearing about, this denture doesn't fit again. So there's always a problem there. And I always told my patients, look, this is not a substitute for teeth. It's a substitute for no teeth. And I think that kind of sums it up. And all the studies show that denture wearers have just a fraction of the ability to chew in terms of the amount of pressure that they can put on things. So is it any wonder they're unhappy with dentures?
Is it true that people can, on the day of the procedure, can walk in with no teeth and walk out with teeth?
Yes.
Is that right?
Absolutely. It happens all the time. And that is really our goal, is to promise them never that will they leave my office without teeth.
And they're fixed in their mouth.
They're fixed in their mouth. You get the odd, case where it's impossible because of the quality of bone. But today, that's very rare to have because of all the digital technology. The predictability goes very high.
Are there a lot of people wearing dentures?
Oh, yeah.
Like upper and lower dentures?
Statistically, I believe that it depends on whose research you read. There's 30 million people in the U.S. that are edentulous, and there's another. I don't remember the exact number, but there's a lot of people that are set to lose their teeth. They're missing, 2, 3, 4, 5 teeth.
Okay.
So when you start missing teeth, then that puts more stress and strain on the other teeth, and what happens? They start breaking, falling out, gum disease. All these kinds of problems contribute to future loss.
So why aren't they all doing it? Like you say, denture. We've talked in the green room that you can help these denture wearers the most, but it's tough to get them in.
It is tough to get them in.
Why?
Cost. A lot of people feel like, it's just too expensive. They may not know that there's a lot of technology today that has made these procedures less expensive than it used to be.
Okay.
And we're able to deliver it faster. And so there's a lot of companies and providers across the country. They only have one way of doing things. The beauty of it is we have a variety of ways of doing things, kind of helping them get the cost down so they can afford it. And in some cases, we can literally graduate them up over time. So they might start one place and wind up with a fixed set of teeth later on, but maybe they have a snap-in denture for a while.
Okay.
Or maybe they even have, God forbid, have dentures for a short period of time. Different ways to help them, get that smile they always wanted and get their life, in a situation where they're healthy and they're happy and they're confident.
Now you have a center where, I guess how it's typically done is you go to one place that does the surgery, another place that puts the teeth on top, another place for the imaging. You do it all right there.
Yes, we eliminate all that merry-go-round, as I like to call it. I used to do it that way, where I would refer it to, if you came in and you needed an implant, I'd refer it to an oral surgeon, periodontist. Then you'd come back to me, and then we'd refer you to a prosthodontist, a restorative specialist, and then there's the lab involved, and sometimes we'd have to refer you out just to get the scan or the 3D scan. I used to do it that way, but I don't do it that way anymore. There's no need to do it that way anymore. We do it all in one location, right?
You teach the process, right? The system of how to do this quickly.
Right. Well, it's
And effectively.
Effectively how to communicate, well with your patients. And I find that a lot of the dental phobics and a lot of the people with fear of dentistry and the anxiety of dentistry, it's as much about not knowing what's going on as it is the procedure itself. Because in today's world, we can, people can be, sedated, while we're having this work done, so they really don't even know we're doing it. But even with the local anesthetics and all the improvements we've had over the years, dentistry is pretty comfortable. But for a lot of people, it's still, they're anxiety ridden when they come in because they feel like they don't know what's going on. So if we can explain in advance, okay, here's how we're going to do it, and here's what you can expect, and
this is your specialty, by the way.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Now you brought photos. What are we looking at here?
This gentleman came in, and it's one of my favorite stories about success stories because he really had no idea how great he was going to look and how great his life was going to be after we got done. And you can see he has a difficult time, smiling. He was having a hard time chewing because he's missing so many teeth. And he'd been, like a lot of patients, around had a lot of different procedures. He'd had, teeth extracted. He'd had root canals, which later became extractions. He had partials, bridges, you name it, and he's still in this situation. And one of his chief complaints was he couldn't eat or drink anything that was above room temperature. So he couldn't enjoy one of his favorite things, ice cream. This guy loves ice cream.
Okay.
And, he's a pastor at one of the local churches. And so there's always, social functions that that he goes to and enjoys. And his options, dentures. And there's no way a guy like this is up in front of his congregation can run the risk of having, his denture slip during a sermon. And here's a guy, he comes in on the day of surgery, give him some light sedation, and he walks out with what you see on the after here.
Nice.
And obviously he's still learning how to smile again because for so long he didn't want to smile, and he didn't know how to smile.
What do you mean learn to smile again?
Well, the muscles of the face, the muscles of mastication and smiling and so forth, they change because the teeth, the jaws get closer together. They're because of missing teeth, broken teeth, loose teeth. So the person becomes very protective, and they actually become the great artists of the cover-up.
Of hiding the teeth.
Hiding the teeth, hiding their emotion, hiding their smile. And in his case, he had a lot of discomfort. Not everybody has discomfort. He had a lot of discomfort. So he was, just trying to, get through it. And now when you're talking about learning how to smile again, he's able to enjoy life. And he, as you can see, his eyes, in the picture, in his before picture, we didn't know what color his eyes were. Those are pretty bright blue eyes.
Yeah.
And also, he looks more successful. He looks happier. He looks healthier. And I think that's really what we see all the time.
We've talked, and I think when I first met you, I said, it's just teeth, though.
Yeah.
And it's more than just teeth to you.
It changes the way people are. I mean, if you look at these before and after pictures, I've said this before to you.
Yeah.
Look at their eyes. In most cases, you see kind of pained eyes, and they're kind of squinting, and they're not very happy, and many times they're in pain. So why would they have that wide open eyes? But in the after pictures, always their eyes look better.
So what can a guy like this eat? Does he have to take it easy a little bit?
This guy can eat anything that he would want to enjoy. He eats steak. He loves steak. He eats pizza. And if you have a denture, try taking a bite of pizza and pulling it, to kind of tear it off. He doesn't have to cut it anymore with a knife and a fork. He can have his ice cream because his teeth are not sensitive. Yeah. I keep talking about his ice cream, but the guy, he loved ice cream. And he couldn't enjoy it because he couldn't have anything hot or cold. So it doesn't matter the temperature, whatever he wants to enjoy, he can enjoy.
Okay, good. What should somebody look for in a dentist that's going to be doing dental implants for them, in your opinion?
Well, you should always ask your dentist that's going to do this procedure, ask them to show you some before and after pictures of cases they've actually done. Not of ones that this is kind of what we can do. Ask them about what they have done.
All right.
To show the cases. Ask them how many they've done.
Really?
How long they've been doing this. It's fair game because look, this is your body, and you're asking somebody to totally recreate and put implants in their body, and put new teeth in. But see, we have a process where we start with the end in mind. So
what does that mean?
What that means is we use the pictures, full face pictures a lot. We use close-ups too, and all the other shots that we use. but it's the face that we have to put the teeth on, right? We have to put the
All
teeth
right.
back where they belong. Most of the time I ask people, bring in pictures from when you were younger, when you had all your teeth and you had a natural smile. If you can find me some pictures, that would be great. And the reason we can do that is so we can actually use those and measure some of the, the key, points, of their smile and their face, and really start to analyze what we're going to do in the final and how we want that to look. Because when they were younger, and they had all their teeth and they're natural, and a lot of times they would smile uninhibited, right?
Yeah.
So you can catch them, laughing, or you can catch them smiling. And we have ways of doing that now, but it's so much easier to look at an old picture and then kind of translate that to the new picture. So we literally can put their teeth on their face, the new teeth on their face, and then basically work backwards to where the implants best support that.
Now you say these people get, and I'm paraphrasing you slightly, but they get their teeth back and they have a new lease on life.
Absolutely.
Because it sounds like an exaggeration.
I've seen, men, women cry many times after this surgery, or they get kind of choked up if they don't cry, and because they just don't know quite how to, to deal with this. They didn't think they'd ever be this way. I had a lady in about a month ago, and when we put the teeth in, she didn't say anything. She just started bawling.
Wow.
And I said, "You okay?" She says, "I just never thought I'd look like this again."
That's nice.
And then when for that kind of thing, that's what makes going to work worth it for me. Here's another patient.
All right.
This lady came in a number of years ago now, and you see a lot of things going on in her mouth. She was totally unhappy with her smile. She was very embarrassed to, really go out in public a lot.
She told you this?
Yeah, she told me that.
Okay.
And I'll never forget when she came to my office. The front office staff, we have some forms we have to have them fill out. She says, "I'm not filling that out." She says, "Well, why not?" She says, "Well, I'm not sure if I even want to be a patient here."
Okay.
And I kind of laughed. I said, "Okay, Nancy, her name's Nancy." I said, "Nancy, look," I said, I really want to help you, but I really need some kind of baseline information just so I can help you." So she filled it out, and basically she explained that she was doing at a local school, and she was doing part-time work and really wanted to get back out into the job market and improve herself. So she'd been a dental phobic. She was a dental phobic, and basically she hated going to the dental office, and that's how things had gotten the way they were. The decay everywhere, gum disease. She wasn't happy with just anything about her smile.
So she would have had dentures if she didn't go to you. She might just be offered dentures.
Yeah, and she had been offered dentures, but she knew about implants because she's a very bright lady, and she'd researched a lot online and really came in with a lot of good questions about dental implants. And so I told her, I said, "Look, we can change this. You don't have to be like this. We can change this, and your life can be different going forward." In one afternoon, you see the after.
It looks nice.
I mean, now this lady from the after looks like maybe she's related to the person on the before picture, but doesn't look like the same person at all.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, we changed her overall the structure of her smile. She had a really deep overbite. We were able to correct that. We weren't able to totally eliminate it, but we were certainly able to improve it. And the really, the funny story here, Randy, is that she actually, during this process, came to work in my dental office.
Is that right?
She was a receptionist up until just a few months ago. And then she moved on to another one that was closer to home because she was driving almost an hour to come to work each way. But for her to, she looks great. She can eat anything she wants. She loves vegetables, fresh vegetables, so she can eat those now. In the before picture, I mean, pretty much she was on a soft food diet.
Because it hurts when they chew when they have bad teeth.
It will,
Is that right?
Yeah, it hurts when it chews because she had a lot of cavities.
Okay.
And a lot of, she had some loose teeth, so as they would chew, they'd kind of wiggle. Now she can eat and chew anything she wants.
Whatever she wants.
And whatever she wants.
What about things like nuts?
You can eat nuts, but you have to be a little careful. Just like like anything. I tell patients, look, anything that'll break your natural teeth have the potential to break these teeth. So let's don't get too crazy.
Okay.
But you can eat nuts. I mean, you can almonds, walnuts, cashews, whatever you want.
Okay, and anything chewy.
Anything chewy, yeah, because see, they're fixed. They're basically these are all retained by screws into the implants, and those little access openings are covered up, so you don't even see them, and they don't come in and out unless we take them in and out. Here's Mike. Mike's a happy guy. That's him smiling.
Okay.
He really didn't want to smile, and basically he was hiding a lot of teeth that were broken down in many years of neglect.
So even for you, I was at your office. He doesn't want to show his teeth.
No, it was literally almost impossible to get him to show his teeth. We had to, use like the lip retractors you have when you go to have orthodontics done.
Yeah.
We had to use the lip retractors just so we could get pictures of his teeth.
Okay.
And it was, and they were basically broken off at the gum line.
So you couldn't save him.
No way of saving them. There was no way of saving any of them.
Okay.
And so he Mike had a career in radio announcing earlier in his years, but he'd kind of gotten away from that because he was just not very happy and confident anymore. And so I told him, look, we can change that. And we
Did they actually say on the consult? Because obviously they've heard about you by reputation.
Yeah.
Did they say, look, I want teeth that don't come out? I want a new set of teeth. I mean, what's their lingo?
Mike had done some research, like a lot of our patients now, had done some research on implants, and he says, I'm just wondering if I'm a candidate because I really don't want teeth to come in and out.
Okay.
I can't imagine, having teeth that, just fall out of my mouth, and especially with his penchant to want to be doing radio announcing again. He wanted to be able to speak clearly, eat what he wanted, and eat healthy. So here he comes in. We give him some light sedation, and basically then give him his new smile. And so walks out the same day with a new smile, the smile that you see on the screen right now.
And how soon can they eat after the procedure? They have to be a little careful?
Yes, they have to be a little careful. We tell them, really for the first 10 days, we want them on a softer diet. Things that are easy to eat and chew, nothing that's eating and tearing. And then, but after that, because the implants are healing, they have to have a little time for the implants to heal. Okay. And the gum tissue, of course, has to heal and this kind of thing. But for a lot of people, they're able to eat better and healthier foods after the surgery than they were eating before. Because in his case, he couldn't eat and chew things that had any
So they have to eat a lot of carbohydrates, right? Like a lot of, soft mashed potatoes or whatever.
Exactly. They always have to eat things that are softer, like typically
pasta or whatever.
Typically those are carbohydrates, and we all know what that does, to the body. I mean, basically, if all you can eat is mashed potatoes and pasta, those are calorie laden, and not the healthiest choices. Try eating green leafy vegetables if you have no teeth. I want you to take a closer look at this, Randy. I normally wouldn't show close-ups of the teeth,
goodness.
But you can see this is what he was hiding underneath his smile. That's horrible.
That's got to be totally unusual, right?
Oh no. I see this all the time. People coming in with this and worse, and they're covering it up because they're embarrassed. They are.
So they just never smile, so you don't see it.
They never smile. I mean, you saw his before smile. I mean, that was a big smile for him. Now all of a sudden, I can show you what was underneath, and you can see there's no saving those teeth.
Yeah, but if they have bad gums, do the implants still stay in there?
Absolutely. Just because they have bad gums going in, we go in there, we extract the teeth, clean up the gum tissue, and now you get a fresh start because the bone, the implants are going into healthy, bone, because all that disease is removed. And so when you cover up those implants, they do just fine. Here's another one. This man came in. He was having all sorts of problems. A lot of loose teeth, a lot of gum disease. And I'll show you what was underneath.
Oh my goodness.
That's what's underneath his smile. So he was another one. Art of the cover-up. He was basically a very successful guy, but he was dealing with a lot of gum problems, a lot of tooth-related problems. There's no way this guy was having dentures.
Okay.
So, he comes in. We have a little light sedation. He walks out looking like that with a whole new smile. The guy looks like a whole different person. in the as-after picture, as you can see.
Looks like the son of the guy in the... Without
Exactly.
exaggeration, I mean, it looks like a different guy.
Well, a lot of people come in and they have gum disease, and sometimes the spouses will kind of drag them in because it's like, hey, I love you, but
The breath
the breath is offensive, and they know that they're unhappy, and they know they're just not pleased with where they are in life in terms of their smile, and they know they could be better. And look at this guy. I mean, he looks like a power magnet.
So these look real. I mean, because you used to be a cosmetic dentist, right?
I was a cosmetic dentist. I had a lot of advanced training.
So you're involved in the design?
I'm absolutely. We're involved in the design, and a lot of that. There's a lot of preparation that goes in. This is no accident.
Okay.
There's a lot of preparation that goes on in advance of the surgery, so that we can deliver these kinds of smiles. And literally we plan with what the smile is going to look like first, and then we work backwards to where the implants fit. And so when we take the teeth out, we clean up the gum tissue, we put the implants in, cover them up. You get a new lease on life.
Okay.
Just like you can see here with this man. He's getting a new lease on life because he doesn't have gum disease anymore. He doesn't have bad breath anymore. He's able to eat and chew, steaks and pork chops and, whatever, eat salads and raw vegetables. It's pretty hard to do that when your teeth are wiggling when you're chewing. Very, very hard to do.
So on a guy like this, what's the aftercare?
Well, there's a lot, because you have to deal with a lot of compliments and going out to eat a lot.
Okay.
And so the cost goes up. But seriously, the maintenance of these is very simple. We still see them every 6 months. We give them specific things to do to maintain them on a daily basis.
Okay.
But as long as they follow our instruction, those teeth are going to look like that for the rest of their life. Here's a gentleman that came in, had some broken teeth, discolored teeth naturally. They were tetracycline stain, and he's a sales guy. He was out in the field every day. But like a lot of people coming in, he had kind of low goals. He really didn't know how good it was going to be because he really didn't know what we could do for him.
Do you get excited on the consult sometimes?
I mean, it's really
like you go, boy, this is going to be good.
Yeah, sometimes I have to control my enthusiasm because I know what it's going to be. In his case, now, we didn't have to extract his teeth. We were actually able to restore these teeth with a series of veneers and crowns to totally change his whole mouth. He didn't need to have his teeth extracted. So that's the beauty, because here's a guy, because a lot of people come in, they may not need to have all their teeth removed in implants, but we can do that because we aren't just doing a full mouth removal all the time. We can do other things.
Now we have to mention this, that Medicare, Medicaid doesn't cover this, and even the best dental insurance only covers a very small portion. So what's the answer?
Well, we have financing in many cases. There's a lot of ways.
People are financing this?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a number of financing. In fact, there's a lot of new financing solutions on the horizon.
Now we have time for a couple more.
Okay.
We're short on time. I'm not trying to rush you.
Here's another one.
Okay.
This man came in having tremendous problems. And again, I want to show you what's underneath that smile, because I think it's worth seeing.
Wow.
And basically, a lot of problems. Couldn't chew, couldn't eat what he wanted. He really wanted a steak. He says, I want a steak, I really can't chew it very well because my teeth wiggle. And so again, light sedation, goes in, he walks out, that's what he's looking like.
Nice.
Here's another patient.
All right.
And she came in, her daughter was getting married. Okay. And she had an upper denture that was ill-fitting. And her lower teeth, she had 3 lower teeth left. That was it. And so she knew that there was going to be a lot of smiling and a lot of family in town that she hadn't seen forever. So she wanted to be able to smile in the pictures, look her best, feel her best, and basically dance up a storm she told me she was going to dance up a storm. So,
okay.
And here's what it looked like underneath that.
Wow.
I mean, you can see she was in trouble. How are you going to eat or chew anything with a situation like that? So again, sedated, and lightly sedated, comes in, in her case, we put a new upper denture in because she didn't have really good bone and we didn't have a lot of time.
Like a cosmetic looking denture.
A cosmetic looking denture and a lower all-on-4. So basically we were putting permanent teeth in the lower. We took out those 3 teeth that remained.
So brand new full arch of teeth on the lower.
Okay. Brand new full arch of teeth on the lower. And so now she's able to eat and chew, and you can see.
Well, that's a big difference.
Well, yeah, look at it. I mean, she looks so much younger.
How old can you be to do this?
The oldest patient that I've been associated with was 103.
103? Why would a 103-year-old want to do this?
You want to know? Because she said she didn't want to be a snaggletooth old lady.
Okay.
And that was her reason. She didn't want her great grandkids and her grandkids and her own kids and her family and friends to remember as a snaggletooth old lady.
So you gave her what? Brand new teeth?
Brand new teeth, upper and lower, brand new teeth.
And she definitely should have done it before.
Well, exactly, because I can say this. No matter, as long as you've got reasonable health. I mean, we spend a lot of time going through the health history and making sure that you're healthy so you can go through this procedure. But as long as you've got good solid bone, the implants will heal.
So 80-year-olds, no problem.
80-year-olds, no problem.
90-year-olds, no problem.
No problem. Again, you've got to be careful of the health problems. Here's another one.
All right.
And she came in and she was basically losing all of her teeth. She had a bridge in her front, and she'd had a lot of orthodontics over the years and a lot of dentistry. But it didn't matter because all of her teeth were falling out. And she just couldn't imagine herself with dentures. So, light sedation, one-day surgery, and that's what you see afterwards. We're able to change, and she had a little bit of an underbite, so we were able to switch that so it was more of a normal bite. And you can see in the picture, you could kind of see that in the picture, but she had a pretty severe underbite, even after all the orthodontics. So we were able to change that around in the surgery and actually give her a normal-looking smile.
She does look a lot younger.
I saw her the other day, and she had a big smile. She's like a real jokester. She comes in and she lights up the whole office. And she was looking great, and this is like 3 or 4 years later.
Did they tell you eating stories at all, or?
Absolutely. She's able to eat and chew. She loved granola. Well, that wasn't happening with her other teeth because they would move around and she would break things. So she eats whatever granola she wants, or steaks, or anything that
Final
you enjoy.
Message.
Yes.
Somebody is watching this, and for whatever reason, they're still skeptical. Maybe they're headed to a denture, or they're currently wearing a denture, but for whatever reason, they're afraid. What do you say to them?
I would invite them in. We have a free consultation. We'll take a 3D scan. You should know your options. You should know what's out there. And we'll even offer them financing.
Okay, and people are financing this.
Absolutely.
Routinely.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it's a big investment, but it's also a huge life change. And so we have solutions, and I always tell people, look, we've always seen something worse. The chances are we can help you in some way.
Okay, good. I want to thank you for coming to the show.
Thank
Great
you so
stuff.
much. Good to see you, Randy.
You've been watching the Wellness Hour, news that makes you healthier. I'm Randy Alvarez. For now, I wish you good health.
Thanks for watching the Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news with your host, Randy Alvarez, the authority on health issues.